Hey everybody, Bill Risser back with another video from Inman Connect, New York. I want to recap Wednesday, the first kind of real day of the conference. The morning session is the everyone's all together in the big ballroom, and you have a lot of speakers that are talking on kind of high level, sometimes motivational, inspirational, sometimes it's tech and data, but mostly kind of just talking in big broad terms about how to be better in business. And then after lunch, we go into the breakout. So I'm going to kind of roll those all into one session here today and give you some of the key takeaways that I found on Wednesday at Inman. You got to start with Brad's opening conversation. He always opens the conference on Wednesday morning, and this time he talked about this supernova exploding and all the changes that are coming in our industry. But there were some key things that I took away from that point, and very simple things. One, be good, not greedy. Two, be emotionally intelligent. I'll talk about that a little bit later with another speaker. Be market intelligent, which is obviously critical in our business. And if you can do those three things consistently, you will win. I think it makes sense. And then really, this one I took to heart, and that's embrace what's happening. Embrace things and try and figure out a solution for it instead of just being that complainer who just says this isn't the way it was before and I don't like these changes. I think those were pretty important pieces of Brad's kind of opening address. The next panel up was talking about the 2019 housing market and where they saw it going. So this was an important panel. Consensus among the panel was that we're moving from an extreme seller's market that was early in 2018 into now what we're definitely calling more of a buyer's market. There were no calls for slowdowns or recessions and all that kind of talk, but they did point out something I think we have to remember. What happened in 2008, 9, 10, that was generational. We're talking about massive drops in value. The typical slowdown, right, just means that the growth of or the appreciation of real estate just slows down. It doesn't go at the typical rate, it just kind of slows down. That's, if there's something coming in the future, the panelists felt that's what we were watching for. So look, with more inventory, obviously buyers have more choices. And if buyers have more choices, buyers want to shop a little bit more. They're going to take a little time. They're not so concerned. If they don't put the offer in right now, they're going to lose the property. So that's what's kind of creating what we're feeling in the market, right? This sort of a softening. The help for realtors out there that came out of this panel was, look, if you're going to be, when you're sitting down with sellers, you've got to get the most recent data you can get. I mean, if it's 2 months old, it's not going to work. You've got to look real hard for what's happening right now, because as these things are occurring, you don't want to give a seller older data that's going to set them up, not so much for success, but maybe have these, longer days on market kind of listings. So really look as close as you can. Don't go back much further than a month. Find everything you can that's going to be more relevant. One of the panelists was a wealth advisor, and I loved his quote. This is one that I'll take with me from this conference, and hopefully you'll be able to use it as well. But his comment was, what you need to be doing in business today, especially when they're not happening, the deals aren't happening so fast, is you've got to build a portfolio of relationships. Those are the things that are going to deliver down the road. So what are you doing to build your portfolio of relationships? Ryan Serhant took the stage, sat down and was interviewed by one of the moderators, and he was on point about sales and how difficult it is, but I loved his comment that says, I will outwork you today and I will outwork you with endurance. He's all about, if you've got time in your day, why are you not doing something to prospect? Why are you not doing something that's going to help your business grow? Yes, you have appointments, but if you only got one appointment in a given day, that means there's a whole lot of time on either side of that appointment to be working and trying to generate more appointments. Ryan also pointed out the number one mistake salespeople make: they try too hard to sell. They're worried about losing the client instead of sticking to their core values, providing value, building that relationship, kind of asking questions and trying to figure out what they need instead of working from some place of fear and saying, being too salesy. So that was a common theme. That's been a common theme throughout this entire conference so far, being too salesy and not being relational. So it's there's been times where that message gets shouted down by the lead gen people, but that is not the case at Inman Connect in New York this year. Ryan wraps that up with this quote, and I'll read it here. It says, people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. In typical Brad fashion, he brings up interesting people from way outside the real estate space. And this was Dr. Mark Brackett, who is a professor at Yale University and founded the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. He talked about the importance of emotional intelligence, the ability to feel, understand feelings, to be able to manage feelings. And, coming from Yale, stodgy old Yale, even he said when he did presentations to maybe a bunch of surgeons that had graduated from Yale, one of the surgeons from the back of the room said, "What is Yale becoming?" Because, we have Nobel laureates, not people talking about feelings. It was very funny, but he made some great points. Let me read a couple for you. Number one, how you feel matters. You have to understand that. Number two, understanding your feelings, which is what emotional intelligence is all about, is not a soft skill. It's science. There's real science behind it. And it's difficult to do. And number three, never too late to learn. It's really important stuff. If asked to sum up that presentation in one sentence, it would be this quote from Dr. Brackett. He said that many think that if you feel or if you talk about feelings, you're weak. He said the opposite is true. You're strong. So I think that's a pretty powerful statement. I think it's true. I think we tend to want to hide that stuff, but it's important to understand it. They even created an app called Mood Meter, where it will help you figure out where you are on a scale, and whether you're high energy, low energy, happy, not so happy, and understand how you can move yourself to the places you want to be. Very cool stuff from Yale. So let me give you a couple quick hits from the afternoon. There was a panel that talked about investing, in real estate as realtors. Why are we not doing more of that? And Bill Lublin moderated this panel. Kristen Smith, Lori Davis, Maura Neal. Kristen Smith, by the way, 31 years old. I think she owns 37 properties. And she talks about putting deals together. Because look, you're realtors, how to structure deals, and that sometimes you can make an offer to somebody, and if they don't want that offer, that's fine. Maybe you can help them another way. But Bill Lublin is a C21 owner up in Philly. Bill's been an investor for 35 years, so he had some great takeaways as well. And one of them is the first one is the hardest to buy, and number 10 is easier. And by number 100, it's like really a breeze. So I think that's long reaching and not something that we could strive for. But do that first one, get that going, whatever it is, whether it's a second home or if it's an investment property, or down in Florida if you're going to have something with long-term or vacation rental possibilities. So I think that was a very interesting idea that we need to do more of that as an industry. Another panel in this shifting market kind of track was talking about overcoming objections, and they had some good agents up there talking about their different strategies. But one really rang out for me, and it's that. A lot of realtors talk about this, but that time you go to take that, you're talking to someone about a listing, they say, you know what, my nephew just got his license 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to use him, give him a try, get him started. And you think about that, it's family, how are you going to overcome that? And some people on the panel said, well, you do things like this, you talk about the fact that, you need a professional, and this is a difficult situation, and you might not be able, you kind of like go after the he's new, I'm not angle. But it was Erica Ramus from New Jersey, and I want to make sure I get this right. Hers was, she says, show your strength and knowledge and your ability. Explain why you do what you do and how well you do it in the consultation, and then, right, go ahead and say, look, I think you would want this sort of expertise, but I understand how you want to help your nephew. What if I go ahead and take the listing, and I'll give you this entire the power of my team and my operation behind you, but I will gladly pay a referral fee to your nephew so he gets involved in this transaction as well. Look, if you're going to not get the deal because they're going to let the son go in and or the nephew go in and kind of screw it up, why would you not offer something like that? I'd never heard that one before. Maybe you have, but very cool. And so that kind of wraps up Wednesday here at Inman. Thursday sessions in the morning, once again, we have some incredible speakers we'll talk about, and in the afternoon there's a marketing track. That's kind of where I love to be, so we'll have lots of takeaways for that for you on the next video, on video number 4, which will be shooting to you soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking these out.